How would you build an offense around Bryce Young's strengths? Like, what would the pillars of that offense be? Because we've seen successful offenses around rookie quarterbacks. They take a lot of what that guy liked, what he did, and then eventually you'll evolve it over time. But you want to make sure that you're putting him in a position where he's comfortable. So if you were building around Bryce Young, not being able to talk to Bryce Young, obviously, what would you do?
It sounds the weird comparison I have, but maybe it's like a middle late career Drew Brees type offense with Sean Payton, where it's hey, we have a strong running game and then we spread it out and let him just knife you with underneath throws and intermediate throws. I think Bryce Young he has a fine arm, but it's not overwhelming, but he's accurate. And he can throw some BBs on the outside. Like he'll pin it right on guys. So pass catcher wise, I would get of course I like my big bodies, but I would get guys that could run.
They have a couple of those,
and if
you think about the way that group is assembled, I think you're going to be surprised by how many targets Laviska Shenault gets in this offense this year. Him and Jonathan Mingo. I think that they're going to try to scheme up ways to get yak opportunities for those two guys and just make things a little bit easier on your quarterback.
Mingo's raw, but he has the best juice and the most juice and probably the best skill set for what I think would be good with Bryce Young. I think that's kind of why I think Mingo, people are going to a little ahead of themselves. I think he's going to take a minute, but I do think that long-term, if he does hit, that's the type of skill set that I like with Bryce Young. Guys that can work over the middle or take a 5-yard ball and go 20 yards with it.
That's a skill set. I mean, he's 220 pounds, tested like crazy,
mover.
But he's a mover. And so they drafted him in the second round.
No nuance to his route running. He just runs. And it's great. It wins. It works. Don't get me wrong, but it's that's why I'm saying he's going to take a minute because he's a funny route runner because he's just such an overwhelming athlete.
That's my secondary question about this offense. Have they surrounded Bryce Young with enough for him to hit the ground running? Compared to other situations with number one quarterbacks that go number one overall, think about what Joe Burrow was dropped into in Cincinnati. Correct. Think about what Trevor Lawrence was dropped into in Jacksonville. This is different than that. Yeah. They brought the line back almost totally intact. The line coach comes back, and the pass catchers aren't great, but I do think that they've put enough around him to not set him up to fail. And I think that's really important. Maybe that's the optimistic view. I think it's worth asking, have they put enough around him at those spots? Adam Thielen's deep into his career, but apparently he's looked really good in camp. He's moving well. Like the GPS numbers are more impressive than they potentially thought they were going to be with him. And now you have DJ Chark, who's had some really good splash moments. Can he stay healthy? Hayden Hurst was really solid for the Bengals last year. I understand the thought process. Even if you paid a lot for Thielen, you think, man, we just got to make sure we're putting this guy in a good spot. Like we got a rookie quarterback. We got some money to throw around over the next 2 years. I get it. Now it's just a question of, is it enough? Does it rise to a level where you actually have given him more than other quarterbacks in similar spots?
I think the two parts for this is the first kind of part of it of saying, compared to these other young quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, even kind of Mac Jones-ish, and maybe, other guys, Burrow that you mentioned as well. Herbert had a great one, so I'm not going to include him. But
he was in a very good situation. Yeah, not line-wise, but pass-catching-wise.
Yeah, even Tua, his first years with the Dolphins, initially until they added some real juice. This is a nice kind of, but the line I'm using is they have plenty of playable players. That is, if that makes sense. Guys that are okay on the field. Are they needle movers? We'll see, or maybe not be optimistic, but they're playable. Their baseline is high. And I think that's a good place to start. And also, there's kind of some dividends that could get paid with that for Bryce Young, is that if he can work with these guys and then they drop in some juice down the road, then it's like, oh, okay, there we go. Now it makes his life a little easier as he works, he starts aiming smaller, then the target becomes bigger down the road.